The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by Boar's Head, premium meats, cheeses, and hummus. Boar's Head, compromise elsewhere.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the BankPlus Studio.
This is now awarded.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
Woo! We'll see if it's a max effort Monday. It's early, but I feel like Blake Mania can answer the call. More so than SEC officials. Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Welcome in. Good morning. On an overreaction Monday and a max effort Monday. As Blake said to me earlier, this is an NFL show now. We're live in the BankPlus Studio. The show is powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook, an award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. DancingRabbitGolf.com to schedule and book a tee time. Check out the stay and plays too. DancingRabbitGolf.com. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app and the zone1059.com. Hit us up on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. Twitter handle @BowBounds. And then your favorite text line is obviously 7 to 10 a.m. And that is 601-885-3776, brought to you by agup.com. That's where you go to get your next John Deere tractor, manage your land. agup.com. 2 locations in Canton and Pearl, Mississippi Ag. What a weekend. What a weekend. Things are melting down in Starkville and the highest of the high in Oxford. And we're going to unpack it and talk about it, love on it. Some of you have thrown some things over the weekend. We'd love to hear about that. And, your reaction to the Mississippi State-Memphis game. Those were SEC officials calling that game in Memphis on Saturday. And as sports fans, we have witnessed bizarre things throughout our life. It's part of it, right? You've watched officials or refs or umps botch certain things, and then you've also been able to witness some crazy momentum swings and games, and how did this happen? And, on that punt in the second half, you have what in a still frame, you can see Martin Emerson downing the ball. It was about 0.2 seconds, but you see the referee call it blowing the play dead. And at that point, you're going, what in the world is going on? And then the Memphis player scoots around the right side and runs the ball into the end zone, and you realize it's a terrible call, but then you're like, what's going on? Why is this not reviewed? And then I think another question, obviously that was absolute and total incompetence, and there were 2 number 4s on the field. There was a lot going on that could have been called by any number of the, how many is it, Blake? 9 officials?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. Somebody can correct me if you want to. Y'all like to do that. So the text line is 601-885-3776. But any of the number of officials on the field could have caught that. And then, of course, you've got an official running toward the spot of where Martin Emerson downed the football. And maybe not, depending on what team you're cheering for or against. But the official is blowing the play dead, and then they proceed to let the play out. And then another question that I have is, I don't know how many people are on the sideline in the press box for Mississippi State football. 30? I mean, between the head coach, assistant coaches, GAs, analysts, strength and conditioning guys jumping all around, guys up in the press box. I don't know how many analysts you take with you. Don't know how many analysts they have. And no, not one person during that time, was it a 90 or 95-yard run?
95, something like that, yeah.
While he's running down the sideline, not one person thinks to either tell Mike Leach or walk over to Mike Leach and basically tell Mike, you've got to walk 10 yards out on the field and stop the game. If they throw a flag on you, who cares?
Who cares at that point?
And nobody did. And so I think that's a big question mark, too. I mean, you got all these people that are paid that are supposed, allegedly, really busy, Monday through Sunday or whatever. And not one person thought to, and I'm talking about it should have taken 2 seconds. Hey, Mike, this is egregious. You're going to have to hold up the game and start talking to them and get them to do something, potentially. And that didn't happen either. So it was a terrible call by the official. And then I just wonder, exactly what the 30 or so people, combination of coaches and analysts and GAs and strength and conditioning guys and people that are in-house recruiting that are walking around the sideline on game day, exactly what they're doing. Is that a fair question to ask?
It's a very fair question to ask.
Okay. I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar foot. If I take those 30 collectively, what is their annual salary? Because Mike's is north of 5, and then paid a DC north of 1, and then you got a bunch of other people, a lot of them making several $100,000 a year. What in the world what planet are they on? Was everybody looking down at like a tablet or a piece of paper, or what was happening? So I think those are some tough questions that need to be asked too, not just of the SEC officiating. Nothing's going to come of it. It's an L. You shouldn't have been in that situation.
Correct. You're up 17-3. You probably should have just pressed the issue and scored more points.
You should not have been in that situation, and your offense continues to struggle. Your defense has played well. Memphis scored a defensive touchdown and a special teams touchdown. Remember that when you look at the total.
Yep.
You saw the scoop and score on the first drive of the game where Marks fumbled twice. And it scoop and score, Memphis is up 7-0. And you meant 17-7, not 17-3.
Yeah.
Because that scoop and score, Memphis led. And then of course, the special teams touchdown that I just described on the punt return. So really, Mississippi State's defense through 3 weeks, because we're about to talk about the number one offense in the country, and it is. Don't kid yourself. Mississippi State's defense through 3 weeks has been really good.
Yes.
I mean, are there some times where they give up a play? Yeah, you're going to do that, a drive, sure. Nobody's going to be, 1983 good for the most part. I don't think anymore. For a while, I guess everything's cyclical. Although I can't ever see us going back to a bunch of 13-9 games, but maybe we will. But the MSU defense has played well. Now, what happened in Oxford? Well, it's pretty easy. This could take me 30 seconds. 61-21, that's the best offense in the country, and I think Ole Miss is a top 5 team. I don't even think it's debatable. I mean, who's impressed you? Ohio State? No. Clemson? No. Southern Cal? No. I know they won with their interim coach. Texas? No. Oklahoma? No. I watched the Oklahoma-Nebraska game. Florida hung around with Bama, but they're not explosive on offense.
But it got entertaining at the end.
It did. You got to give them credit for, changing the momentum. But that Ole Miss offense on the ground and through the air is the number one offense. It's the most prolific. I don't care about stats. Y'all can throw out another team that may have more yards. That means nothing. It's the most prolific and explosive offense in college football right now. And it's not Bama. It's Ole Miss. It's not Oklahoma or Ohio State or Clemson. Your thoughts on the agup.com text line. 601-885-3776. Good morning. Welcome in. Show is powered by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. Visit MississippiSportsMedicine.com. MississippiSportsMedicine.com to figure out where you need to go and the number that you're looking for if you have an orthopedic hiccup. MississippiSportsMedicine.com. Back in a second.
The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by Breezy Oaks Ranch. For Mississippi-raised premium Wagyu beef and heritage pork shipped straight to your door, visit breezyoaksranch.com.
Big board. What's on the big board?
And good morning. What's happening? It was a great weekend of football. NFL was wild yesterday. And then interesting college football weekend in Oxford, Memphis, Gainesville. And you got a big one this week in Starkville, as Mississippi State will host your LSU Tigers, the Fighting Ed Ogerons. Back. That's right. They will be back in Stark Vegas. That's an 11 a.m. kick, Blake.
That's right. Get it over with.
Oh, wow. All right. So good morning. Welcome in. The big board this morning is brought to you by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. Thanks for making us your sports and entertainment show of choice. The agup.com text line is 601-885-3776. 885-3776. You can hit us up on the phone line. Farm Bureau Insurance, 601-707-3750. Delta Rev coming in hot early. I was talking about how in the world no one on the sideline or the press box informed Mike Leach of what had happened as far as the referee blowing the play dead in the Mississippi State-Memphis game on the punt and eventually punt return for a touchdown. And Delta Rebel said that wouldn't have gotten past Lane Train. He would have gotten ejected over that stupid call. Leach seemed to sleep. So Delta Rev coming in hot after a 61-21 whooping to the Tulane Green Wave, where Matt Corral and Lane Kiffin in that offense did whatever they wanted. And that's what's happening right now in the state. You've got one offense that is, can't get out of their way and is struggling to score points consistently. And can't really push the ball down the field right now. We'll see if that starts to change or not. And then Ole Miss can do whatever they want. They want to call a running play and rip off 9-11 yards, they do that. They want to call a passing play. You feel like they get about 22 to 28 a pop. They flip the field in just a few seconds. It's the number one offense in the country. I want to know if you tell me another offense that's good. Oklahoma, no. We watched Oklahoma. We've watched Oklahoma twice. Clemson can't score. Alabama is good, but they're not close to hitting on all cylinders like Ole Miss. Florida's not in that. They're not what they were last year with Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts. And A&M's not there. They're playing a young guy after their first young guy got hurt. And then Texas isn't. Southern Cal's not, and Ohio State's not. So the most explosive and prolific offense in the country is in Oxford, Mississippi. It's really incredible the way that the landscape of college football is set up this year. This is depending on what the Ole Miss defense is, and they don't have to be even close to good. They just need to be solid. The way that it's set up this year with all those teams that I just referenced down, what a great opportunity for Ole Miss. Now, 2 weeks from now, they play Bama at Bama. And to say that game will be hyped, Lane Train coached under Saban. Saban fired him a week before the national championship game.
Rat poison.
He goes to Florida Atlantic rehab. Well, he already, I guess, Bama rehab / Florida Atlantic rehab. lands at Ole Miss, and in year 2 has an unbelievable offense. Now, this is not a shot at Lane, but all those players, 95% plus, 99% were there when he got there.
Yep.
But he's made it all cook at about 1,500 degrees. And they look, whatever he figured out, post getting fired at Southern Cal, some of the things that he wanted to do that he could do, but some of the things he couldn't do at Alabama, and then getting down to Florida Atlantic and starting to really settle in on what he wanted to be as far as an offense, you got to give him mad props.
Even what you saw at Tennessee, Southern Cal, and I will take out the then Oakland Raiders, Kiffin's problem was never on the field coaching. It's always been the off the field part of coaching. Mm-hmm. I mean, his offenses were good then. Now they're elite with the addition of that Baylor wrinkle. And so, I mean, there's no surprise to me that his offense is cooking at Ole Miss. It's always been, can he keep the train on the tracks off the field, right? Because on the field, he's been a wizard since Bama, like you said.
And I think he's grown up enough to do what you just said.
That's the measuring stick for Lane, because if he stays clean, the ceiling is the floor, as Michael Jordan said, right? Like there's nowhere Lane Kiffin can't coach if he's clean off the field. No,
I mean, and the way the game is set up today, you're right. He can do this. I'm not saying he's going to be this dominant in the NFL.
No.
But he can run. He can run a good offense in the NFL, and obviously, if you can be phenomenal at Ole Miss, you can run it anywhere, and he's not at a blue blood. Look, I understand. I'm receiving texts. They haven't played anybody. They haven't. It's been a cupcake schedule, but still, they are absolutely wearing people out.
It's what Steve Palazzolo says about QB play. It doesn't matter who you're playing. The throw is the throw.
That's right.
Right? Like you got to judge the throw. You know, it is what it is. Whoever's in front of you is in front of you. And right now, Matt Corral, they're dealing offensively. It is what it is.
Yeah. Hey, it's not Ole Miss's fault that Mississippi State decided to play in the Liberty Bowl again.
Can we stop
Ole Miss
this?
Had the best team in the history of the state.
It.
Okay, 2015. Best college football team as far as talent on offense and defense in the history of the state of Mississippi. And they went to Memphis and got skull-drugged.
Hot garbage.
Nick says, are we surprised someone got robbed in Memphis?
If you've been listening to this show for years, I have been asking the question, why in the world would you schedule that game?
Yeah. There's no reason to schedule that game ever.
Well, and I haven't looked at the next 5 years for Ole Miss and Mississippi State, but we'll have to see. Gator Matt says it's going to be Ole Miss and Florida and Atlanta.
Ooh,
well, they'll probably blow you off the field, Gator Matt.
So, he's just assuming they get past Georgia?
Well, yeah, which I would lean towards Florida getting past Georgia, but like you said, I mean, that's already a loss. The problem is when you pull Bama.
Yep. And Georgia doesn't.
That's right.
Yep.
Just like last year, Georgia pulled Bama, right? And when you pull Bama, you get that L, so now Florida's in the hunt to, ding Georgia and has to stay
perfect.
Yeah.
Through the rest. It's like you said about Mississippi State, obviously on a much different level, but you don't get those games back. Once the game's lost, it's over. It's hard to. It's not like in baseball where you can steal a series, or in basketball where you might can steal a game that. It just doesn't really work that way. The teams that you're supposed to beat, the wins you're supposed to have, you need those wins when you're counting them at the end of the year.
Sure. And let's go back to how precious every game is in college football, because you don't play many of them. That Memphis game, some people will sit there and go, I don't understand. It's huge. It could be the difference in a bowl game. It could be the difference in 5,000 less people showing up this Saturday, which I think will be the case. Put a multiplier on each person, and you get a big number as far as economic development and so on. Tourism dollars, whatever you want to call them, college football dollars. It's a big deal. And it's one that you really can't get back. So the botched officiating in Memphis, you're 2-1. And Blake, we assumed they would have won. Who knows? Live in the BankPlus Studio. Good morning. Welcome in. Text line 601-885-3776.
Community.
The Out of Bounds Show podcast is presented by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. Your golf game starts with Edwin Watts Golf Shop.
Come on.
Everyone ready?
This is the SEC Insider Hit. Presented by your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go local. Go with a home team.
Oh, man. The Liberty Bowl texts are pretty good coming in. Taking shots left and right. If you've listened to this show any for the last 18 years, you know I've asked that question. Why in the world would you schedule at Memphis? But anyway, now you got an L, and you got to fight your way to bowl eligibility. SEC, it would be interesting, if the AAC, I know most of you don't keep up with these conferences as much as we do, but the AAC, not ACC, AAC is where Memphis lives right now.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, with what has happened recently, I don't know where they're going, in the next couple of years. But those were not AAC officials. In other words, those were SEC officials that blew the play dead, let the play go, and then for whatever reason between the 8 or 9 officials on the field, and again, the 30 personnel of Mississippi State football people, I can't figure out. I guess everybody was on their iPhone or something. I know it would be a come to Jesus yesterday for that whole group. None of them could, I guess, tell Mike Leach, hey, Mike, they called the play dead. You need to challenge it, throw a fit, something. Yeah. Stop the game, walk 12 yards out on the field. Because at that 15 yards, whatever that number is. Sometimes you got to march out there until they stop and they have to come over and start telling you to go back to. That's what happens, right? A coach walks out enough on the field, baseball, basketball court, football field, until the official has to come over there and start talking to you about getting back on the sideline. By then, you're, depending on your level of wanting to raise, and you start going through, what you want them to do.
It gives your team time to figure out, like I say team, your coaching staff time to figure out, how can we challenge this? What can we do about it?
Right.
Whatever. Figure out something.
But that's too many people on the sideline in the press box, and that's unacceptable.
Yep.
And there needs to be
accountability.
Big time.
But let me ask you this question, and this is not, again, I go back to, and we're getting this text message too. Mississippi State didn't lose this game because of that one call. You only scored 29 points against a team that just gave up 50 to Arkansas State.
Who scored, 3 over the weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
like that. There
is clearly an issue with your offense in terms of its efficiency, and even Mike Leach talks about consistency. But why are we in 2021 and we hold everyone accountable in everything except for officials accountable in sports? It's the one last bastion of you can do anything you want and no one will ever question you about it. And I don't understand
Two professions that I'm thinking of right off the top of my head.
Lifetime politicians?
Politicians and officials.
Yeah. We said it. We talked about this before the show. I said why do politicians do what they do? Because they know no one's going to take them home.
Right.
Why do officials do what they do? Because for the last 100 years, we've never been allowed to question what an officiating crew does.
Yeah.
Why is someone not? There needs to be grading. It needs to be public. There needs to be public reprimand when you make there's a difference in calling a ball a strike.
I don't know if their theory, and I don't know this, okay, but I don't know if the theory within the sports world is that there's such a small pool to choose from anyway that if you start doing what you're talking about, which I'm okay with, then even less people will want to go into the profession.
Start promoting from down below. Like, there's different leagues. If you're grading everyone in the P5 and the G5, if there's an official grading scale, hey, I'll relegate I'll relegate you to CUSA and I'll pull this guy up. I don't have time for it.
Yeah, conferences don't work like that, but I see where you're going.
We've
You're
gotta-
thinking of a kind of a major league, minor league system.
There's got to be something done because the lack of
but
accountability
because the conferences operate in such autonomy.
Yep.
There would never be any, hey, we're going to promote you down to the Sun Belt, and this crew that's graded well the last 3 years will be promoted up.
Yep.
And that's a you get a bump in pay, and you get to call SEC games.
Calling
and
SEC games, calling any Power 5 games from the official standpoint it's a great gig.
Sure it is.
You're making a few thousand on a Saturday for 4 hours of work.
Yeah. Some people were back and forth on it. I don't know it, but it sounded like it was between 3,000 and 5,000 a game.
It is.
Okay.
Because I've got
that may not be for every, and it could be tiered out depending on importance of umpire and official and so on.
Veterancy, like how long have you been there, right? How many years have you accrued? And that's part of the problem too.
And I've said this for years. You got too many over 50, 55, and 60 guys that can't move.
Yes.
The
game's
whether
too
it's
fast.
football, basketball, and so on. So that's a problem too. But I don't know how many young people are going. You and I both did several hundred games apiece, and I loved officiating basketball, baseball. Did some football. It's a lot of fun. And you and I went all the way up to the high school level, and could have easily gone into the college deal. But I don't know if what you're asking for is going to happen.
I don't disagree.
As far as the transparency, but also the accountability. It'll be interesting to see. I think somebody just sent us something on where did that crew get assigned another job this weekend?
Oh, I'll have to check.
Okay.
I know that someone was saying that that's the same SEC crew that botched the whole Auburn Arkansas debacle from last year, where there was like 4 missed calls, and they actually did come out and say that someone was going to be reprimanded on that crew.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it never happened. Look, Major League Baseball is dealing with this too, where the umpiring has gotten to such a bad point in certain ways that diehard baseball fans are losing interest in the game. I don't think that you're going to see football fans go, oh, I'm not going to watch football because of officiating.
Sure.
But it takes the fun out of it when you're dealing with such a large portion of poor officiating. There's got to be something done. Again, I'm not saying Mississippi State lost this game because of that. It's not my point. It's reiterating what we've seen over the last 5 years of there's no account. We put 18-year-olds in front of a microphone and say, why'd you make a mistake? But we don't put 55-year-old men on front of the microphone who've done 10 times the games that 18-year-old's ever done from an officiating perspective and say, why did you make this call? Why did you throw your hat on this receiver out of bounds or didn't throw it and he was out of bounds? Or you threw a flag and then you let someone talk you out of it.
Right.
Why?
Right.
Why? Because we don't hold those people accountable, so we're never going to learn. It's never going to get better. If no one held you accountable on this show, you just do whatever you want to do, and you might get better or you might go down a trail that's terrible, but if no one stops you, how are you going to get better? It's just incredible to me.
Yeah. Well, we know that we get better every day.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, the SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Favorites.com. That's F-A-V-E, favorites.com. Get a quote in 4 minutes or less. Brian says, and weather reporters. That's pretty good, too. So we'll make it
That's tough.
those that really never have to face the music. Lifetime politicians, officials, and weather reporters.
I mean, if you're making $5,000 a game, you shouldn't have to answer a question. Come on. For $5,000, I'll answer whatever question you want to ask me.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Maybe I should have stayed with it.
You should do it on the side.
Oh, God.
Hey, there's Alabama grads officiating in the SEC.
At
Why
this
can't
point in
you
my
do
life,
it?
I can't do it. I mean, I thought maybe 10 years ago, yeah. But,
Kyle on the text line says, time to bring Freeze home to Starkville.
oh, my God. I saw some of those texts over the weekend. I don't know what the split is with the fan base right now either with Leach. It's still early. He's going to be given time. They do have to get the offense up and running. As you said, Blake, Arkansas State put a 50-burger on Memphis, and Mississippi State could not move the ball consistently. And Arkansas State scored 3 points this weekend against Washington. So You know, I know connecting the dots is, you know,
doesn't always work that way.
Well,
but yeah,
doesn't. No, it's probably fool's gold, but it's things that we do in sports. So
they still outgained Memphis by like 200 yards, which is incredible.
Had the ball.
Yeah,
you know, 97 minutes longer. Yeah, I saw that too. So, but you're 2-1. You host LSU this weekend, and your offense is still a massive work in progress, and your defense is really. It's pretty good. It's super thin.
They've played well enough to be 3-0, though.
Oh, no question.
The defense has played well enough to win all 3 of the games you've played. And again, that's not SEC caliber teams. I get that, just like Ole Miss hasn't played it yet. But you've done enough defensively to be 3-0.
Yeah.
But you're not.
And that, I mean, when every game is precious, and you can lose games in basketball and baseball. Football is just a different deal, as we all know, because you only play 12 of them. Want to throw this. If I am ranking teams today, this is all subject to change. Ole Miss is a top 3 or 4 team in the country. I've watched some of Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Georgia, Florida, LSU. Now, Michigan's interesting. They're all hot and bothered for good reason to a certain extent, because it doesn't look like Ohio State has any idea what they want to do on defense, which is incredible to me. But I can't buy Michigan yet, even though I know the national media will. They did hang 63 on Northern Illinois. But when you look at the teams around the country, Blake, I've got Ole Miss. If you wanted to put them 2, I'd be okay. 3, 4, or 5. Although you'd have to sell me on Bama. I can buy until they play. All right, we'll see how that plays out. Bama deserves to be number 1. They've earned that right. You know, Michigan hasn't earned their rankings. A lot of other teams don't earn their rankings that they get in the preseason every year, okay? But Bama has earned their rankings. So I'm not going to argue with Bama at number 1, even though I don't think that their offense is super-duper powerful or...
It's just so talented. They're so talented they play downhill every week.
Right.
It's hard to debate that.
Right. But Florida did give them problems. And
that offense stalled for Bama. That's the biggest thing I've noticed. And I don't know, is that on Bryce Young? Is it on Bill O'Brien? Is it a combination of the two?
Oh, I don't think they have the same weapons.
I agree with that.
I mean, we can talk about all their 5-stars. That doesn't. All 5 stars are not the same.
Correct.
And every class gives you different. Some classes are better than others.
There's no Jerry Jeudy. There's no Calvin Ridley. There's no Devontae Smith.
No.
None of them.
No.
Ruggs.
No.
There's no Henry Ruggs. Like, there's none of those guys.
No.
I agree with you.
So that collection of players that you just referenced, their skill talent, you know, at wide receiver is not what it's been the last couple of years. I'm not saying they don't have some young guys that will eventually emerge as that level of player like you just referenced, but right now they don't have those type players.
Not a first-round NFL receiver, which they've had the last, 4 seasons.
Yes.
Which is
sometimes
remarkable.
2.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's remarkable.
Right.
What they've done offensively to flip from putting in Heisman-caliber running backs every year to now usually having 1 first-round receiver, if not sometimes 2. Yeah.
Right. I mean, they went from Josh Jacobs and Trent Richardson and Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry and all these guys to what you just referenced, all those first-round picks in the NFL draft at wide receiver. I don't see I don't see Jeudy, Devontae Smith, Calvin Ridley
None of them.
type players. So when I think about that and all the hype that's going to be around Ole Miss at Alabama in 2 weeks, I said it all during the offseason. I'm not going to be surprised if this is one heck of a ball game. And look at Lane Kiffin, who knows everything about Nick Saban, and the fact that they had a successful run, but it ended badly. I mean, it was a bad divorce. Lane Train got fired the week of the national championship game.
You could argue they would have had a much better shot to win that national championship game.
Oh, I could argue that they would have won that national championship game with Lane calling the plays. Instead, Saban removed him like 5 days before, 6 days before.
Yeah, because he was already agreeing. He had taken the FAU job, and Saban said he was distracted.
And maybe he wasn't communicating enough. I don't know. Anyway, the bottom line is this is fascinating because Lane is coached under Saban. He knows, everything about Saban, and Lane has the better offense. Like, say that out loud. Lane will be going to Tuscaloosa with the better offense.
Will this be the first?
Now, does Bama have a better defense? Yes. But the way the game is played today, 15 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, that's the advantage when everything was played in the box, in the phone booth. Hey, we have the better D. Okay, got it. But now,
Yep.
Lane is just working people. Now, is it going to be as easy against Bama? I don't think so. If it is, y'all all better hang on. And Ole Miss fans will be sitting there thinking Atlanta and knowing that Georgia and Florida, to me, do not look special by any stretch. Again, this is a great opportunity to take advantage of Clemson's not what they were. Oklahoma's not what they were. Ohio State's not what they were. And Southern Cal's not even in the mix. And Texas isn't there. LSU and A&M are down. Auburn played hard, physical football against Penn State on Saturday night. But and Derek Mason is
a freak.
Yes. But they're not there. Although they may have more juice than
their
LSU and A&M.
Their offense is just terrible.
Yeah.
It's what we thought Bo Nix was when they had to play a good opponent.
Well, give James Franklin and Penn State credit. But when I look around the landscape of college football, Bama's not dominant. And then I just referenced all those other teams that were used to being in the that's right. I didn't mention Oregon. I'm not sold. They'll have to continue to march along. And we'll see how that looks, going forward. But I'm not sold that Oregon is worthy of really competing for the national championship. But maybe Mario Cristobal and Joe Moorhead and that group can make it happen. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Want to welcome you in. Say good morning. Hope you're doing well. One of the worst calls in the history of college football in the Liberty Bowl on Saturday. Shouldn't have come down to that, but you could argue that it cost State an opportunity to win the game. It is still mind-boggling that referee blew the whistle, was making the signal,
and then let it go.
Play's dead. And then the Memphis guy picked the ball up and ran 90-something yards, and it was a touchdown, and no one on the Mississippi State. I would have walked out 12 yards on the field and laid down like I was dead.
Yep. I'd have left all my gear right at the 50-yard line.
I don't understand. Because who cares about a yellow flag? Who cares about a 15-yard penalty? No, nobody. I can't understand why coaches are burning timeouts when their play clock is going down to 3, 2, 1. It's a 5-yard penalty, and you're burning something that's much bigger asset as far as a timeout rather than backing up 5 yards. But I'm seeing that in the NFL and in college football still, and that blows my mind.
It's going to happen forever because
Take
that's how
the
football
penalty.
No, football player. That's not how football coaches work.
It's proven though you're burning something that you get 3 of them a half.
I agree with you 100%.
It is a valuable. We all have our whatever assets you have in life, you need to love, hug, hold up, and so on. As a college football coach, why would I burn a time? I saw one over the weekend. Somebody couldn't get the extra point team out.
Yeah, why are you burning a timeout on the extra point? Yeah, exactly.
That timeout with 27 seconds left or 47 seconds left going into half or at the end of the game is so much more valuable.
Yep.
Hold on. We got 3 seconds on the clock. We have to call. No, you don't. Take the penalty.
How about
first of all, you should be able to get the play in. We talk about the overcoaching play to play, high school level, college level, NFL level. I think that's why we see so much pre-snap nonsense is because coaches want to give 97 signals.
Yes.
And change this and change that. Let it rip. But anyway, that's something to think about too. I kind of got off.
Well,
there.
no, but how about look? I've seen Leach do this season. Call timeout on a 4th down call to then run the punt team out there.
Yeah.
If you're not going for it, don't call timeout.
Yeah.
Just take the 5-yard penalty and punt. Who cares? It's remarkable, but we are still in the transition of archaic football mind to analytical football
analytics,
mind. Yeah.
Pro Football Focus, some of the other things that are happening.
Yeah. Look,
in
the
the
Texans,
sport.
the Houston Texans were taking on the Cleveland Browns this weekend. They ran a play on 3rd and 12, got 10 yards. It's 4th and 2, but the Browns were offsides, so they could take 3rd and 7 again, or they could take 4th and 2 and go for it. They declined the penalty, take the 4th and 2, and then punt. You can't make that up. That's dumb blankery.
Well,
that's football.
I want to hear from our listeners on how 30 people couldn't tell Mike Leach to go out there and lay down on the field. What are your thoughts on that? Because that's something that I would really be concerned about in the building yesterday and today and every minute until someone meets on it and discusses it. I mean, and has Leach tapped somebody to be that person? He or she. Yeah. I don't care if it's an analyst, a football assistant, an in-house person. Hey, you're the person that when, every time that special teams lines up, you count everybody. You make sure that there's not 2 number 4s or 2 number 11s or 2 number 22s. And you also make sure X, Y, here is your job. I mean, we're a tens of millions of dollar SEC football program. We drive the whole train for the athletic department. I mean, we are the money maker. And yet, do you have someone out of all these people that are on the sideline jumping up and down? And I've always wondered, what are these people doing? Do you have someone? Why don't you have someone? I mean, this is a big business. Don't you need to designate someone to say, hey, Blake, here's your job on Saturday? As an offensive or defensive analyst, whatever your role is within the program on a day-to-day basis, here's the sheet, and anything that goes wrong, you're supposed to tell Leach.
Yeah.
He can do what he wants, but you're supposed to say, Coach, this is what happened.
How does that not already exist? I would have thought for sure that someone's job was every play, you're making sure it's 11v11, so there's not extra people, and then you're checking numbers. I don't know how it's not a job already. I mean, I guarantee you, Nick Saban's got 4 people doing it. Don't get it twisted. That's not happening to Alabama. So it's a truly remarkable failure by the coaching staff and the officiating crew from Saturday.
Squirrel doesn't get it, so I'll keep rolling through the agup.com text. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Oh, we've got people telling us how they're getting over their loss. Some guy won a ton of money. Okay.
There you go.
I like that Golden Moon Casino slip. Thank you for sending that, my man. You stopped by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook. There you go. Oh, they're coming in now. Here we go. The agup.com text line, 601-885-3776. We'll have Tom Luganbill at 8:30. Recap the weekend. We'll talk about the Lane train. Does he think that Ole Miss should be in the top 5? I'd put them at 2 or 3 right now. I mean, I'm actually trying to think of a team that I could, other than Bama, and, other than Bama, who has maybe looked better than Ole Miss? Oregon? Only because they went to Ohio State and won? The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Favorites.com to get a quote in 4 minutes or less. Tom Luganbill, 8:30. Steve Robertson, 9:15 on the Modelo Guest Line.